Hey, what up, everyone? It's your boy Andrew Latham. I'm in a hotel room in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Pardon the background noise and all the noise I'm going to be making because I'm drinking because I've had a long week. And I was thinking about it on the road. And basically, all I do is complain. And people seem to like that. But tonight, it's going to be an informative podcast. We're going to talk a little about my job and what it's like and the things that I face. During this podcast, you'll hear me drinking things, getting ice from my little crappy cooler, and pouring drinks into said crappy cup. I might pour it into the coffee cup, the coffee glass thing, and just start drinking from there. But anyways, it's almost a minute in, and I haven't talked about anything worthwhile. So let's get into it. So, for those of you who don't know, I'm a tour guide. I'm a tour guide for Japanese people. And right now I am doing a 5-day tour going from Rapid City, South Dakota, all the way to Salt Lake City, Utah. Right now I am in Jackson, Wyoming. We just saw a little bit of Yellowstone today. We saw Grand Teton National Park, and then we went to a chuck wagon dinner. A lot of times when I meet people and I tell them about my work, their first, of course, because they're sane, normal, non-sociopathic human beings, is to tell me, "Oh, wow, that's such a great job. Wonderful. Nature, ma." Because it wouldn't be normal for you to say, "Wow, dude, that totally sucks." Because that's not how normal people talk. But still, it seems that people that I've gotten to know me still think that excuse me. Think that, oh yeah, that is awful. They think that the job isn't a job, it's vacation. I'm getting paid to go on vacation. And that's how I got suckered into doing this job the first time around, is the man who interviewed me, who shall not be named, but he is a piece of human trash. He basically sells it as, we're going to pay you to go on vacation with Japanese people, which sucks, by the way. But tonight I want to talk a little bit about this week and what's happened and why being a tour guide, especially for foreigners, isn't some sort of magical paradise. Okay, so on Monday, you'll hear the name Yumi a lot. Yumi is the person I'm doing this tour for. She owns a company, and I work for 3 different companies. I'm an independent contractor, and we'll get into that later. But Yumi, who is great, who I love, and I will bend over backwards to do work for her because she treats me well. But she flew me out from Salt Lake to Rapid City, which is very nice of her, because before, when I've had to go to Rapid City, I would usually drive, which again, I don't mind, but Yumi didn't even say, "Hey, would you like to drive out there?" She just said, I'll send you out there. She sent me out the day before. I got there, hold on. I'm standing because, heaven forbid, someone design a hotel room where the table isn't blocking the air conditioning device, but I got there about 11:30, and then I had the rest of the day off. I took a shuttle to the airport, and to the hotel. Got there, went and got some lunch, and hung out in my hotel room and did a podcast. The night before, I got a phone call from our bus driver, who asked me what day the tour was starting. And she has an itinerary, so she should know. Nevertheless, she felt that calling me and asking me what day the tour started was a good idea. So I told her, and I said, you're just going to drive out from Salt Lake today, Monday, and we'll start the tour Tuesday morning. And she said, "Oh, okay." And so she called me later that night when she said she got in, and I said, "Awesome, cool. Have a good night. I'll see you in the morning." Now, one of the hard parts about being a tour guide is working with, there's a lot of fingers in the pot of a tour, okay? Especially when you say, for example, when you go to the Navajo reservation any tour done on the Navajo reservation must be done through a Navajo tour guide. You must contract through them. And once you start including different parties in the tour, that's when things can get difficult, because you're not sure how much you can rely on them, if they're going to be on time, if they're going to drive safe, if they're going to know the information, right? So it's a lot easier if you just do it yourself, because you can control everything. That's why I prefer to drive on tour. I prefer to drive and guide, because it makes it so that I'm in control. I know I'm going to leave on time. I know where I'm going, and I know if I don't know where I'm going, I can figure it out. But when you have a bus driver who doesn't know where they're going, like my bus driver, what happens is you start to say, hey, take a ride up here. And then they go, oh, I know, and then they kind of get offended, because what they're basically thinking is, this guy is trying to do my job. And I am, because you don't know how to do your job. But when you're with a bus driver for 5 days, it's important to have a good relationship, because you don't want them being pissed off at you all day, because you're with them all day. Plus, if they feel like it, they can just be late, and that makes it look bad on you, okay? If you own a business and you hire employees that aren't up to par, or you sell a product that isn't up to par, that hurts your brand, which is your name, which is you, okay? So, especially in the eyes of a Japanese person, I should say a Japanese tourist, there is no room for error. That's because Japanese society has this saving face feature, so to say, which is you basically can't admit that you're wrong. You have to pass the buck onto someone else, which I actually started to do as a tour guide, and when I caught myself doing it, I said, F that, I'm an American, clinkety clinkety, and I'm not going to do that anymore. Oh, tasty. So for example, I have a bus driver who, bless her soul, she's a very nice and sweet, caring person, but she told me she's been to Yellowstone thousands upon thousands of times, and yet every time we go anywhere, she doesn't know where she's going. So it turns into, we have to turn around, or she has to make this awkward turn. And I would think to most Americans, as long as you get there safely, it might not be that big of a deal. At least in my mind. Don't turn on. Freaking A. I hope that doesn't bother you guys, but the fridge just clicked on. But to a Japanese person, that's a big deal if the bus driver isn't perfect. Number 2. And that reflects on me, and I can hear him in the back going, oh, does she not know where she's going, or what's going on? And all of a sudden, the tour could have been perfect up until then, but that one part, now the tour is freaking done, okay? And so when you're a tour guide, you have to manage people. You have to manage the bus driver. You have to manage, sometimes wait staff. And by manage, what I mean is help them do their job, because what they're being asked to do at the level they're asked to do is not, they aren't compensated at that level, okay? Japan, they have a very high customer service, rating, I guess. The customer service is very good. That's just part of their culture, because in their culture, it's a naturally subservient culture. So as the wait staff in their culture, you are beneath the customer while you are the wait staff. So that means that, they can talk to you however they feel like and things like that. Okay. Here in America, it's not like that. The wait staff is the same as you, and you make small talk with them, and you if you're not a dick, you tip them and stuff like that. A couple weeks ago, I was on a VIP trip, and I was making small talk with the wait staff, as I am wont to do. And the woman I was with kept telling me, first off, she said how good my English was, which I didn't even know how to respond to that. But Then she asked me if I was friends with everyone. And I said, no, I'm not friends with them. And she goes, well, how come you keep smiling when you talk to them? And I said, that's in America, we're friendly, that's just how it is. And she goes, oh, in Japan, we would never do that. And I said, yeah, I know. I'm aware. And seriously, 4 to 5 times a day, she'd tell me how good my English was. And I could never understand it. I'm going to get some ice. But, so my voice is going to fade out maybe. But I could never figure it out. But I realized that, they told me that I was their first ever non-Japanese tour guide that they've had in like the 15 years they've been traveling the world. And, this is the first time they've ever been around someone who can fluently speak English and proficiently speak Japanese. Their other Japanese tour guides probably ordered a steak like this. I wiru habuza steak desu. And they can't make small talk. And the other thing that the Japanese tour guide will tend to do is to protect Japanese people from outside culture. Protect might not be the best word, but what they do is they do everything in terms of Japan. So, for example, like tipping, for example. I saw today, we did this chuck wagon thing, and one of the customers was going to give, I think, the main guy like $1, and this guy did everything for him. He really chatted him up, made him feel welcome, made him laugh, and they were going to give him $1. And I thought to myself, like, that's bullcrap. That tour I had with those VIP people, I was given a half-eaten bag of peanuts as a tip. If they weren't VIP, I would have just pointed to the garbage can and said, I'm sorry, but the garbage can is over there. But because they're VIP, I did not. Next time I should. But anyways, so getting back to managing people, that's one of the aspects of being a tour guide, is that you have to manage different people and many different personalities. Right now I have a group of 20 people. I've got 3 kids. All 3 of the kids live in America. 2 of them don't speak any Japanese. And then I've got a group of 3 older gentlemen who wanted to go visit and... Oh, geez. That is freaking getting through the mic. I need to get a shock mount. Anyways, these 3 old guys asked me on the first day if we could go check out Heart Mountain. And Heart Mountain is a Japanese internment camp. Is that coming through the mic too? Oh. In northern Wyoming, where they had about 10,000 Japanese... Well, they were Americans that were ethnic Japanese that they interred during World War II. Okay? And they wanted to go check it out. And normally, if it was just those 3 guys, and it was just me driving, I probably would have said, yeah, that's fine. I'll take you there, but I've never been there. I don't know what to say or anything. So if you guys want to take a look around, we could spend like a half hour there, and then we have to jet. But I've got 20 people, and I said, and the road is really steep, and with these buses, there's a lot of places they can't go, because when you get on a road that steep, especially with a microbus, which is what I have, I guess it's a minibus technically, but that's basically a big truck, but it's got 20 people in it and all their luggage. So I said, I'm sorry, but we can't go that way. The road is too steep. We're going to have to go this other way. They're like, oh, wow, that's really too bad. We really wanted to go here. And they were like, have you ever heard of it? At that time, I had not. And so I looked it up that night, and it was an internment camp, and yeah, sure, what we did to the Japanese citizens, ethnic Japanese citizens of the United States of America during World War II was bad, but, it wasn't that bad, to be honest. They were treated pretty well, actually. If you want to look it up, it's called Heart Mountain. Go look it up on Wikipedia, but regardless, and we'll get into that in a little bit about the way they view America and treat it, but managing people is a big part of being a tour guide. It's managing expectations, personalities of, however many different people you have on the tour. I have 20 different people. I talked to one guy today, and he really wanted to go see Mount Rushmore. That was his thing. We were only there for 45 minutes. We couldn't even do the trail around. I couldn't take him to any of the museums. We were only there for 40 minutes. And this is what this guy basically paid to come on this trip for. I've got other people that wanted to see things in Yellowstone that weren't on the itinerary and that we didn't have time to take them to. Okay. Now, the problem with that is that JTB, the travel company that does this tour, that my company then is contracted by JTB to perform for them, they don't do a good job of telling their guests, the people that buy the tour, what's going to happen. They don't tell them, this is what you're going to see, this is what you're not going to see, this is how much time you should expect to spend there, this is how much time, this is what you're going to see during that day. And then they'll throw in a bunch of stuff that's impossible to see, So there's a huge disconnect between what the customer is expecting, what I can realistically perform, and what reality is. A lot of the times these itineraries that these Japanese companies make are not based in reality. It's some guy in Japan sitting at a desk making an itinerary who's never been to America or hasn't been in 5 years and doesn't understand that there are trails that have been closed, or there's construction going on, or these roads are closed during the winter, or these roads are closed during the summer for construction, or you can't take a bus to this spot because it's too big, things like that. And because of that, what happens is the customer is expecting something that I cannot deliver. It is against the law, or it is physically impossible for me to deliver that. But to a Japanese customer, that's not JTB's fault. That's my fault. JTB would never lie to them. However, I am the filthy, dirty American, and I would lie to them. Okay? So, for example, when we go to Yellowstone, we're usually there for a day and a half. But the second day, half of the day is spent driving up to Mammoth Springs and then driving back. If you've never been to Yellowstone, Mammoth Springs is in the upper loop. It's the only thing of semi-value up there, but it's not even worth it. I mean, it's an hour-plus drive to get up there. Then you got to find somewhere to park. Then you got to walk it. Then you got to get back to your car. Then you got to go find a bathroom to take them. And by the time all this is done, and if you eat lunch there too, it takes 3-4 hours. Then you got to get down to the lower loop to where all the cool stuff is. Okay? So why do we go to Mammoth Springs when there's no reason to go there? When you can do the whole thing in 20 minutes. Why should we drive an hour and a half to see something that most people don't give a crap about for 20 minutes? Well, because some guy in Japan said I should. That's why. If they let tour guides write the itineraries, not only would the tour guide enjoy the tour more, which would make him a lot more cheerful, but which would make a better tour, but it would also make the customers happier because the days aren't as long and what they're seeing is actually interesting instead of, them looking at you going, why are we stopped here? For example, today at this stop, we had to stop at a place called Coulter Bay, which is in Grand Teton National Park. 6 years ago, Coulter Bay was awesome. They had a really cool museum concerning the tribes around the area. They had actual real artifacts, and you could spend 45 minutes to an hour there. Now, you have, 2 displays about the Shoshone, and that's it. And so, I got other places to go in the Tetons, so I can't spend a lot of time right there at Coulter Bay. And so we go in, and I tell them, okay, we got 20 minutes here. And then they go to the bathroom, and they're like, okay, what is there to see here? And I'm like, well, there's that thing. And they're like, oh, is that it? And I said, yeah, okay. And again, they're looking at you like, what are you, stupid? This place sucks. But they don't understand that I have to stop there. Because if I don't stop there, someone will look on their itinerary and say, hey, we never stopped at Coulter Bay. Therefore, I get to file a complaint with JTB. And if JTB finds out that I didn't go there, they get a portion of their tour refunded. And my company gets screwed. I don't get screwed, but my company does. But the point is, why would my company hire me again to do a tour if I'm just going to keep screwing it up, okay? So that's one part of it. I mean, if you take them to Jackson Lake Lodge in Grand Teton, if you take them to Jenny Lake, Oxbow Bend, Snake River Overlook, stop at the dam and take pictures. They're excited. Those places have actual value. So again, it's a lot of miscommunication between what can happen and what should happen and what is physically possible. Okay. So getting back to like the bus drivers, a lot of these bus drivers are underpaid because, well, I shouldn't say they're underpaid. Driving a bus is not difficult. You get a CDL, you learn how to drive a bus, and then you're competing against every other guy with a CDL. So why should I pay you $50 when I can pay someone else $13 an hour, But anyways, the bus driver's job is to drive, and the bus driver can only drive 10 hours a day of drive time with at least a 15-minute break every 3 hours. Okay, and then there's only 15 hours of on time, which means basically working time. Okay, so a lot of times the Japanese tour companies don't understand this. Oh, and they also have to have 8 hours off, at least 8 hours off before their next shift begins. Okay, and they have logs, and these logs are, inspected from time to time. And if you screw up on your log, if you don't follow those rules, you get a pretty hefty fine. And a lot of the times, the tour companies, the tour coordinators from Japan don't understand these rules. So they want to push it, and they want to have the driver drive longer and things like that. And I tell them, look, I can't. The driver can only drive this long, and so forth and so forth. And they go, well, no, we can do it. And I say, no, you can't. Just because you're Japanese doesn't mean you can do this. Like, nobody here cares that you're Japanese. And if it was a German or a Russian or a Dutch or a Chilean doing it, they'd say the same thing. Nobody here cares. You paid the same amount as every other butthole in the world to get into this national park or to get wherever you're going. Just because you think you're special doesn't make you special. I took a group to the airport a couple days ago, and I had a lot of them. I had 31, and they were checking in at Delta, and there was a long line, and their tour coordinator said, can't you just take us to the front of the line? And I said, no, miss, I can't do that. And she goes, but we need to go. And I said, well, so do these people. They need to go too. And she just couldn't understand that I wouldn't inconvenience everyone else around me for her and her people, right? I get that a lot. That's a common attitude for a lot of these tourists is that, there was a memo sent out to all the restaurants and hotels that they're staying at and going to that, hey, we've got Mr. Sato and Mr. Kawasaki and Mrs. Fujita, and they came all the way from Japan, and they want to have a little Japan around them while they're working. Okay, so that's a big part of the stress of this job is creating the little Japan around them to keep them safe. So what is the little Japan that I have to keep around them? The little Japan is tea, making sure they get their tea. It's it's this slow like microaggression against America, when they talk about how much food they get, you have to go, oh, they go, oh, no wonder Americans are so fat. Look at all this food. And so the Japanese tenjoin will all go, oh yeah, this is just ridiculous. No, they don't have any respect for not wasting things. And same with cars. They wonder why the cars are so big. They wonder why the drinks are so big. They wonder why things are different from America. And I'll explain it to them. I'll say, well, this is why we don't drink tea. This is why the cars are big. This is why the roads are big. This is why we serve so much food. But you can explain it to them, but you can't comprehend it for them. So I want you to picture yourself doing this, okay? Pretend that you are Japanese, okay? And you're a tour guide, and you serve Americans. And so every 3 days to every week, you get a new group of Americans, and they come in and they go, why is everyone here so tiny? Why are all the streets so small? Why are all the cars so small? Why is all the food so expensive? How come you guys stand so close to each other? How come all your teeth are messed up? How come none of your women have curves? How come, all these things that to you are just normal life. But now, what it's become is these questions have become an attack on as to who you are. Because what they're saying is, your culture sucks. And we want to know why it sucks. When they ask me, why do we have drinks so big? You go to 7-Eleven and get a double gulp. And I say, because we can. I mean, that's what I say, is because ma dekiru kara. And they go, but why? And I wish I could say to them, like, you cannot understand why. You will never be able to comprehend why anyone in this world would want 52 ounces of soda. Because in your mind, there is no such thing as, I can do it because I can. In your mind, it's, I do it because that's what society has, quote unquote, or quote unquote society has told me to do, okay? Oh, man, you guys, that tastes good. So, again, ketchup. When we go to fast food places or wherever, I don't feel like I use that much more ketchup than other people. I know that there's a joke among the Lathams that we do use a lot of ketchup, but what's the big deal? It's ketchup. You like ketchup, go ahead and put it on. Like, who cares? But, if I'm forced to eat with my customers now, I have to ration my ketchup because I don't want to effing hear from them, why are you putting so much ketchup on? Why? Because I effing want ketchup. That's why. Like, what skin off you is coming off your ass with me and ketchup? There's enough ketchup in the world for you and me. These small little razors that slowly cut you in half, just little by little by little. That's what's really irritating. It's that. It's JTB is, when they make a mistake, it becomes my mistake. It becomes on me. I've got 3 guys, and they're supposed to have 3 beds in each room, okay? Because JTB said they could get them that. However, in every hotel we've stayed at, they all have a policy of there's only 2 beds per room, okay? So now I tell them, look, this is what the hotel said, and they're looking at me like I'm lying to them, like as if I have something to gain. Like I go in the back with the hotel staff, and we point and laugh at them and go, what a bunch of pussies. Look at them. Sleeping on the floor like a bunch of idiots, And the only reason that is because it's because my eyes are the wrong shape and color. It's because I'm white. If a Japanese person said these things, then it wouldn't be a problem. Because they also have something we call it talking dog syndrome, and I had it happen again today. But what it is, if your dog started talking, you probably wouldn't be paying attention to what it was saying. You'd be more like, holy crap, my dog is talking, right? And so I have it happen all the time, getting some ice. I'll pick people up from the airport, their hotel, and I'll start talking to them, and they'll look at me like, what? Are you speaking Japanese? And I go, yeah, and then finally it clicks that I'm speaking Japanese. And they're like, wow, and okay, maybe I'm being a prick. Maybe I am. Well, actually, I am a prick, so there's a very good chance. But when I was in Japan and someone spoke English to me, I didn't treat them like they were like, a mystical creature that I needed to drain their blood and study it. I just like, wow, okay, you speak English, cool, In Japan, Japanese people speak Japanese, and that's it. Not white people. I've got a kid on my tour. He's 11. His name is Spencer. He is 100% Japanese. But he was born in America. He doesn't speak any Japanese. And, being an 11-year-old, he's kind of a smartass, which I admire. But I can't really put him in his place, as I am the tour guide and I'm 28. But we got to talking a little bit today, and I told him, Spencer, It doesn't matter how much Japanese you do or don't speak. When you go to Japan, you will always be more Japanese than me. Even if you don't know how to use chopsticks, even if you don't like sushi, even if you don't like natto, even if you are drive a truck and have a giant belt buckle and listen to country music, as soon as you get into that country, you will always be more Japanese than me and more accepted solely because of the way you look. And, of course, being 11, he didn't understand, which was fine, and hopefully he never has to understand, but I'm dealing with a group of people who want to come to America but don't want to experience any part of America. If you let's say you wanted to go to Mexico, and if you went to Mexico, why would you only want to eat American food and only hear English and only drive American cars and stay in an American resort that looks exactly like how it is in America? Like, that's called touring America. So why don't you go do that? Why would you want to go to Japan and not experience Japanese things like staying in a internet cafe or a ryokan, or eating Japanese food or riding a train or things like that? That Japanese people do that. That's part of their everyday life. If you went to Japan and said, I want to eat McDonald's and I want to drive a Chevy and I want to only hear English, like, why are you there? It doesn't make sense to me. But this is how they are. So tonight we had this chuck wagon dinner, and about, so it started at 6. We had to be there at 6. We got back to the parking lot at 9:30, so 3.5 hours. But 2 hours, 45 minutes in, a couple of our people, I was there with a friend, another tour guide, and he had his group there. But a group kind of started to get a little antsy, and they asked us if we could leave early. And we said, no, we can't. We have to leave with the group. And they go, well, why not? And we said, well, because, number one, it would be very rude to leave halfway through these people's hard work and performance. Number two, not everyone wants to leave. And number three, because. That's why. I'm not going to inconvenience all these people just so you can get back to your hotel. And they go, and basically what they were saying is, we're Japanese, we deserve special help. And I know that's not what it sounded like when I told it, but number 4, that's what they were saying, is I'm Japanese, we deserve special treatment. Go dance, monkey, is what they were saying. So, JTB didn't inform them how long it would be, or what time it started, or what time it went until. So, we're the bad guys. We become the messengers, the bearers of bad news at that point, because I'm the one that's telling them, hey, look, it's been a long-ass day, and guess what time you're not getting back to your hotel room? Oh, it's 10 o'clock, and we're up we have to leave the next morning by, tomorrow is late. We're not leaving till 9, which is really late compared to most tours I do. Most tours I leave by 7, with the night ending before at 10. That's only 9 hours off. And that's their time off. I got stuff to do after. I'm getting better, guys. Listen to that. So now understand that I'm repeating all of these things every 3 days or so. I'm getting a new group of people asking me why I'm fat. A new group of people telling me I don't look 28. A new group of people telling me that they don't like American food, that they want to know why Americans are so fat, that they want to know why Americans drive such big cars and have such big houses and have so much food. It's because we can. Why are we fat? Well, we're fat because the labor market that we're most engaged in is not something that's manual labor. It requires brain power and specialized skills. By the way, you people are skinny because you can't afford food and you smoke. When I was a missionary over there, a lot of people would not quit smoking because they said they'd gain weight, which they probably should have, because they looked like skeletons wrapped in leather. They're always surprised when I can walk upstairs or carry luggage or do anything of any physical nature, because they think that basically because I'm overweight that I must be incapable of any sort of physical activity. And so, the younger generation is great. Probably, everyone from their 30s and below are generally really great. They understand. But when you get older group, which is a lot of these people, they want to rub your belly. They want to, just ask you why you're so fat or how long you've been fat and things like that. And most of the time I just ignore it, or I tell them, that's really rude in America and I'm not going to tell you anything. That's like going up to a Japanese person and, pushing on their eyes and going, how do you see out of that? But I'm fat because Taco Bell and basically an overall aversion to exercise. But, I drink a lot on tour. I'm always drinking something. I guess it helps me keeps me awake while I'm driving. But I was also raised in the desert where we were always taught to drink a lot. Taught to drink a lot. And every time I'm drinking something, they always ask me, like, why do you drink so much? And I tell them that, and they go, well, that's bad for you. So that's when people ask me, and I can tell them the truth, what it's like being a tour guide. I tell them, imagine going on vacation with your kids that you hate, but you can't discipline them. And that's basically what being a tour guide is. A lot of the times is you have a group of people who you cannot. Yeah. Number 5. You can't correct them, basically, because you are the tour guide and you are the white tour guide and they are the kings. So, sometimes my hand is forced when they grab a waitress or waiter because they don't feel like they're being served well enough. But, for the most time, it's just a lot of bull crap that I have to put up with. I'm trying to think of some other things, but I mean, the older generation of Japan, they just come here and they look down on you and your culture. And what this is pointing at the monkey at the zoo and going, haha, you're not a human, And that's why it's really frustrating, because they're treating you as a subhuman. They're not treating you as though you're a person. And again, get a new group every 3 days and just repeat that over and over and over. And add to that because I'm an independent contractor. And the reason they do independent contracting for tour guides is because you work long hours. So they're not going to pay you per hour because sometimes they don't know how long the day is going to be. And overtime, things like that. Okay? So you also get a per diem, which depending on how the company works, you either get to keep what you don't spend, or you have to return it, or, things like that. But sometimes some of the companies you work for, they nickel and dime you on every little thing. If you go over 20 cents on your per diem, they take it out of your checking account, even though you help them out a ton out of jams and things like that. Sometimes they're late to pay, or they just screw up on the paperwork and you end up having to do the work that should have been done and things like that. So being a tour guide is not vacation. When I'm in Yellowstone and Grand Teton and all these places, I'm not looking at nature. I'm managing people. I'm making sure that they don't touch the hot springs or throw things into them or stray from the boardwalk or get in the way of people or take pictures of kids with blue eyes and tell them how pretty they are, and that way the dad gets pissed off and thinks that it's a pedophile. When I'm driving to these places, I'm not looking out the side of the window enjoying it. I'm looking at the road because that's where I have to look because I'm driving. When at the end of the day, I can't go look at the stars. I got to get to bed because I got to be up the next day and I got to do it again. And I got to do it again for the next 8 days. And I've got to make sure that the reservations we've got are still in place for restaurants that need reservations. And I've got to make sure that the hotels are right. And, again, this is because if it's not perfect, it's my fault. Not that it's a mistake, not that It's okay. We'll get it taken care of. It's your fault because you're the tour guide, right? So it's stressful because Japanese culture is passive aggressive. This whole saving face idea, it makes it very passive aggressive. And you generally won't have a customer be upfront with you, say, hey, this is the problem I'm having. What can you do about it? Mostly what they'll do is they'll hint at something, but they'll never come and tell you. I had a guy on tour get a sunburn, and he came to me a couple days later and said, hey, I got a sunburn. It itches. What can I do? I said, hey, here's some aloe, put some aloe on it. And he did. He said it didn't do anything, and so I don't know what to do. But I saw him today, and he was like, how come you didn't tell us to put on sunscreen while we were out? And what I wanted to say was, do I have to tell you to wipe your ass too? If it's sunny outside and you want to put on some sunscreen, put on some effing sunscreen. Do I need to coach you in the shower and tell you when to lather, rinse, and repeat? Do I need to teach you how to shave? Do I need to remind you to put your pants on in the morning? And so basically what he was saying is this sunburn is your fault because you didn't tell me to put on sunscreen. Because everything has to be told to them. Tonight, I told them what was going to happen tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to leave. We're going to go to the grocery store. We're going to buy lunch. Then we're going to head out to the fossil place, dig for some fossils back to Salt Lake. And everybody understood except one girl, and she goes, so wait, we're all going to go to the grocery store together? We don't need to go before. And I said, that's right. And she goes, oh, well, would you explain that? And then I said, yeah, okay, so you guys, we're going to go score. And they go, oh, yeah, we know. And I was like, okay, so why do I have to explain this? Why do I have to put in every single little effing detail? Like, do you guys understand that there's something called context, that when I say, okay, we're going to leave in the morning, do I have to tell you to make sure that you're wearing pants, that there's no poop in your mouth, that you haven't murdered your wife before then? Just be there. And that, of course, isn't all Japanese people, but it's Japanese people when they come on vacation because they're used to being babied by their Japanese tour guides. I like to treat people like they're not stupid, generally speaking. But if they want to act like they're stupid, I'm more than happy to treat them as if they are an idiot, which I sometimes do. We went into Yellowstone on Wednesday, and I got some maps, and I only got 18. I had 20 customers, and I told the two that didn't get them, I said, hey, when we get to this next visitor center, I'll ask for some maps there. They didn't have any. And I said, hey guys, this visitor center doesn't have any. I'm going to go to the next. When we get to the next visitor center, I'll get you a map. By the way, and these weren't like two single people. These were families. They had other maps to look at. By the way, what do you need to look at a map for? There's maps all over the place, and I'm going to get you a map. Relax. So this old guy's like, no, So I got him a temporary map. It wasn't the one you get at the entrance. It was just a temporary map, and this old guy like snips at me. He's like, hey, I want this map. And I said, yeah, I know. And he snips at me again, and I stopped. I paused for about 10 seconds, and I looked at him, and I said, this place doesn't have any of those maps. The next place we're going, we'll have those maps, and I'll get one for you there. And I got one for him. And, and it's like little things like that. Like, that was a big deal. The fact that, should that be a big deal? Should the fact that he didn't get a map the very first day, should I stop the rotation of the earth and pat him on the back and make sure he feels better before I can start the day again? Same old guy lost his passport at a Maverick in Graybull, Wyoming. Graybull, Wyoming is in the middle of nowhere. They called me late at night, and this guy goes, I can't find my passport. So I said, okay, well, where did you have it last? And he told him, I said, okay, well, I'll get their phone numbers tonight, and I'll call them, and what we'll do is we will, figure it out from there. And he said, okay. And so, I got an email the next day from my boss who was calling for me because I didn't have any reception in the park. And she said, we found his passport at the Maverick in Graybull. And I said, awesome. Okay, so let's try and get it overnighted to the Salt Lake, to where they're staying in Salt Lake, and we got it all taken care of. But while this was going on, they kept bugging me and acting like it was my fault that they lost their passport. They kept saying, well, can we get it to Salt Lake? And I said, well, we're going to try to get it to Salt Lake, but it might have to go to Seattle because there's no UPS or FedEx close by. So the nearest town from 50 miles away, the driver has to come and get it. Okay, so we're going to figure it out tonight to see if we can do that. They're like, well, yeah, if we can get it to Salt Lake, that'd be great. And I said, yeah, I know. That would help me out too. And so my boss got back to me and said, it might be Seattle. And I told him, they're like, well, we'd really like it in Salt Lake. It's like, you know what, prick? I do too. Because I don't want to have to effing help you go to the embassy or consulate and get all this shit done. Because I hate you. It's not my fault that you're 80 years old and can't keep hold of your passport. I've never ever... Everyone else has held on to their passport. Why are you so stupid? Of course I didn't say it. Because I'm a pussy, but I also should say it. But anyways, it's things like that. Their problem is now my problem. When really, their problem is their problem. I did everything I could. I went out of my way. I paid money to connect my credit card to the phone so I could make a call outside of a park. It cost me $4 to make a 1-minute phone call. And it cost me $5 to connect to the internet for 1 hour so I could get a hold of my boss. So that's $9 out of my pocket. So this butthole could get his passport back. I'm not going to make that money back. Do you think that they're going to tip me? No. I don't get tipped. The companies, quote-unquote, bill tips to me. They put tips in my paycheck. But that's not a tip. That's taxed money. And that's not what a tip is. Okay? Again, VIP trip, 8 days, babysat him, did everything for him. What did I get? A half-eaten bag of peanuts. I got their leftovers, and that was their tip. They ate. They had me eat with them. They invited me to all their meals. That's not a tip. That's 2 extra hours of work. That's a burden. That's you bitching about the food. That's you complaining that I'm drinking too much water and that I'm going to ruin your meal, like the old woman said. That's you asking me why I'm eating what I'm eating. That's you asking me, looking at me like I'm a dog and wondering, wow, I wonder if dogs always eat like this. Eating with you is not work. It's not fun. It's work. It's extra work. And I don't want to effing do it, and it's not a tip. Okay? So this is getting pretty long, so let's go ahead and end it. But the point is that being a tour guide isn't fun in games. It can be fun when you have good customers, when you have cool customers who are relaxed, who are here to not only see nature but to experience different things. And I don't care if they accept it or if they like it, but what irritates me is when they come to a foreign country and then they want everything to be changed for them. Whether you're an American visiting Mexico, a Jew visiting Chile, fetching, Swazilander visiting Mongolia, you're in another person's country. And you going around telling people how they should live their lives, how they should change their culture to suit, and not change their culture for the better. Not this isn't going to the Amazonian rainforest and going, hey guys, check it out. We got these kick-ass things called vaccines. Let me tell you about them. This is you walking into Mongolia and going, how come you buttholes can't get McDonald's over here? Because they don't want McDonald's. That's why. And I'm pretty sure there is McDonald's in Mongolia. Okay, but that's what's irritating. Every single day, I get new people. Or not every single day I get new people, but every time I get a new group, it just turns into we have this dancing monkey touring or guiding us and driving for us. Let's watch the monkey dance, and let's poke him and poke him and poke him. That being said, I do enjoy my job because I've learned a lot of great skills on how to manage people, on attention to detail, on planning, When someone starts telling me, giving me the details of a tour, I'm already thinking about how much time it's going to get there, whether there's construction, what the next bathroom break is, what kind of restaurants are there, what the weather is going to be like, what am I going to expect, and how to plan for it. And I'm glad I've been able to keep up on my Japanese. But this job is in no way, shape, or form, me on vacation, just having fun. It's a job, and it has its up and downs, mostly downs. But regardless, I don't think multiculturalism is a good idea. I think Japanese people are great in Japan. I'm glad there is a Japan. Japanese people should have a Japan. There should be a place where they can go and feel comfortable, where they can go, oh, you can choose between Pepsi, Sprite, and maybe Mountain Dew, and then they've got 50 different teas. And that's what they want, and they should be able to have that. And then I should have the opposite. I should be able to choose from 3 different kinds of root beer, 5 different kinds of Mountain Dews, 6 different kinds of colas, and then no tea, because tea sucks. But I don't think multiculturalism is a good idea. Hillary Clinton is an evil witch. Bernie Sanders is crazy. Trump is sounding better every day. I wish there was someone else, but as long as, why am I talking about politics? I guess whatever. But for those of you who haven't experienced Japanese culture or Japanese people, of course, not all of them are this way. In fact, Yurika, if you're listening to this, you're not like this way at all. And I'm not sure anyone other Japanese person listens to this. And most of the Japanese people I know weren't like this. But I knew really awesome Japanese people who had a lot of experience with Americans, and they understood. They were also just really cool people. But the point is, I forget what the point is. The point is I'm better than everyone else, and you can all go to hell. But that's been the podcast. Thank you guys for listening. Did I tell you that this show's called A Face for Radio? That I'm your host, Andrew Latham. I'm the host, Andrew Latham. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening. I hope it was informative. If it was, let me know in the comments on YouTube or Facebook. If you have any questions concerning what it's like being a tour guide, if you've made it this far. In fact, if you've made it this far, go ahead and go on Facebook and say that you have. That way I can just find out if anybody's effing listening. By the way, I know that the content has been kind of lacking lately. I'm busy with work. The next couple weeks I'm going to have some stuff off, so I'm going to have some stuff cooking for you guys then. We'll get some more guest hosts in and some good stuff coming up. But thank you for listening as always. I will try and get the audio to sound better next time. You guys have a wonderful Saturday, and I will talk to you later. See ya.